Peter Parker was a normal teenager. He lived in Queens, New York with his Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Peter was smart, but he was also shy. Other kids often picked on him. He found solace in science books and his love for photography. One day, Peter's class went on a field trip to a science lab. It was supposed to be an ordinary day. Little did Peter know his life was about to change forever. At the lab, scientists were showing off a new type of spider. They were genetically engineered. As Peter looked at the spiders, one got loose. It bit him on the hand before anyone could react. Peter didn't think much of it at first. It just felt like a little pinch. He had no idea what had just happened. He had no idea that he was about to become Spider-Man. After the field trip, Peter started to feel different. He felt strange, stronger than before. At first, he thought he just had the flu. But then, things got really weird. One day, while walking home from school, Peter saw a group of older kids picking on a smaller kid. Suddenly, Peter felt a surge of anger and power. He stepped in front of the bullies, feeling braver than he ever had. The bullies laughed at Peter, but he didn't back down. That's when something incredible happened. Peter's hands stuck to the wall. He climbed up the side of the building, amazing even himself. The bullies ran away in fear. Peter realized he had amazing abilities. He could climb walls and lift heavy objects. He also had a strange spider sense that warned him of danger. But these powers were also scary. Peter wasn't sure how to control them. He wasn't sure if he wanted to. Peter started testing his powers in secret. He practiced climbing walls and swinging from building to building. He even made his own web shooters. These were devices that shot out a strong, sticky web-like substance. He was becoming more confident. Maybe these powers weren't so bad after all. He used his powers for personal gain. He entered a wrestling competition hoping to win prize money. He easily defeated his opponents with his newfound strength and agility. The crowd cheered for him. He felt like a star. But Peter's moment of glory was short-lived. A thief ran past him and Peter did nothing to stop him. He was too focused on his own success. He didn't realize the consequences of his inaction. He would soon learn a painful lesson about responsibility. That same night, tragedy struck. Uncle Ben was shot and killed by a burglar. Peter was heartbroken. He felt responsible. He could have stopped the burglar if he had used his powers for good. Grief and guilt washed over Peter. He realized that with great power comes great responsibility. Peter vowed to use his powers to help others. He would become a symbol of hope for the city. He would become Spider-Man. He created a costume to hide his identity. He wanted to protect his loved ones from harm. Peter knew that being Spider-Man wouldn't be easy. He knew he would face danger, but he was determined to honor Uncle Ben's memory. He would make the world a better place, one web sling at a time. Section 5. The Green Goblin Arises, Norman Osborn's Transformation. As Spider-Man, Peter found himself facing many villains, but one enemy would become his archenemy, the Green Goblin. Norman Osborn was a brilliant scientist and businessman. He was also the father of Peter's best friend, Harry Osborn. Norman was experimenting with a new performance-enhancing serum, but something went wrong. The serum drove Norman insane and transformed him into the Green Goblin. The Green Goblin was a fearsome foe. He wore a Green Goblin costume and flew on a glider. He used pumpkin bombs and other weapons to terrorize the city. What made the Green Goblin even more dangerous was his connection to Peter. Norman genuinely cared for Peter. He saw him as a surrogate son. This made their battles even more personal and heartbreaking. Section 6. Webs and Goblin Gliders, Battles of Good and Evil. Spider-Man and the Green Goblin clashed many times. Their battles were legendary. They fought on top of skyscrapers, in the city streets, and even on the Brooklyn Bridge. Spider-Man used his agility and web shooters to outmaneuver the Goblin. The Goblin used his brute strength and arsenal of weapons to try to destroy Spider-Man. Their battles weren't just physical. They were also mental and emotional. The Green Goblin knew Spider-Man's secret identity. He used this knowledge to taunt Spider-Man. He threatened his loved ones. Spider-Man had to be strong. He couldn't let the Goblin win. He had to protect the city, even if it meant putting himself in danger. Section 7. The Masks We Wear. Peter's double life and its costs. Being Spider-Man took a toll on Peter's personal life. He had to keep his identity a secret. This made it difficult to maintain relationships. He often had to lie to his Aunt May and his friends. He missed out on school events and social gatherings. He was always afraid of someone discovering his secret. His relationship with Mary Jane Watson, the girl he loved, was especially complicated. Peter wanted to tell her his secret, but he was afraid of putting her in danger. This led to misunderstandings and arguments. Peter felt trapped by his double life. He often wondered if it was all worth it. But then he would remember Uncle Ben's words, "With great power comes great responsibility." He knew he couldn't give up. He had to keep fighting for what was right. Section 8. A City Screams, A Hero Answers, The Final Showdown. The conflict between Spider-Man and the Green Goblin reached its peak in a final, climactic battle. The Goblin had kidnapped Mary Jane and threatened to harm her if Spider-Man didn't fight him. The battle raged across the city, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. Spider-Man was pushed to his limits. He had never faced such a challenge before. The Goblin taunted him relentlessly, trying to break his spirit. But Spider-Man refused to give up. He knew he had to save Mary Jane. He had to stop the Goblin once and for all. In a final desperate act, the Green Goblin turned on his own glider, intending to impale both himself and Spider-Man. Spider-Man managed to leap out of the way just in time. The glider impaled the Goblin, ending his reign of terror. As Norman lay dying, he regained a moment of lucidity. He begged Peter not to reveal his secret as the Green Goblin to Harry. Section 9. With Great Power, A Legacy Forged in Loss. The battle was over, but the cost of victory was high. Peter had defeated his greatest enemy, but he had also lost someone he cared about. He had made a promise to Norman to protect Harry, but he knew it wouldn't be easy. The weight of his double life felt heavier than ever. Peter continued to protect the city as Spider-Man. He would never forget the lessons he had learned. He would always strive to live up to Uncle Ben's words. He knew that true power came not from his abilities, but from his choices. The legacy of Spider-Man had just begun. He would face many more challenges in the future, but he would face them all with courage, compassion, and a strong sense of responsibility. He was Spider-Man, and he would always be there to protect the innocent.